Security Advisor Jake Sullivan and the White House press pool immediately behind them. So in the meantime, with a second debate, White House officials at the time said that they would. So that debate is still on, Corral, for September. Of course, we just have to kind of set the stage here. We're a long ways away from November 5th. We're 4 months away from November 5th. So it's going to be a long, hot summer, Corral, of politics.
No, for sure. Well, especially the fact that we had that first debate so soon in the season. I mean, June, it's practically unheard of to see two candidates go head to head. I do see someone stepping up to the podium right now. Let me just bring it in full. We are watching this feed as well as all of our viewers. It could just be a mic check at this moment. We're waiting for the big event, and that's going to be Biden here at this press conference on the third and final day of this NATO summit over here in Washington, D.C.
So to that point, and history serves us well, this happened with a Democratic president, with a Democratic incumbent, 1968, Lyndon Baines Johnson. In March of that year, March, we're in July, he told the American people he was not seeking re-election. And of course, we know how the 1968 election played out there. That was, of course, the rise of the first term of President Richard Nixon, who beat Hubert Humphrey there in 68. And so that is, in recent memory, in modern American history, from what I can remember. I wasn't there at the time. Okay, we have Biden. We have Biden. Here he is.
We do have Biden. Let's take a listen to this. It's happening live.
We just concluded this year's NATO summit, and the consensus among members was it was a great success. So especially momentous because it represented the 75th year, the most important military defense alliance in the world's history of the world. We should never forget that NATO grew out of the wreckage of World War II, the most destructive war in history. The idea was to create an alliance of free and democratic nations that would commit themselves to a compact of collective defense. Standing together, they knew we'd all be safer. Attack on one would be treated as an attack on all. And it's worked. Because a would-be aggressor knows if they attack one of us, they'll be attacked by all of us. Sending that message is the best way to deter aggression and prevent wars in the first place. For those who thought NATO's time had passed, they got a rude awakening when Putin invaded Ukraine. Some of the oldest and deepest fears in Europe roared back to life. Because once again, a murderous madman was on the march. But this time, no one cowered in appeasement, especially the United States. We collected intelligence that Russia was planning to invade Ukraine months before the invasion. I directed the intelligence community to be a significant amount of intelligence to be declassified so I could start building an international coalition to oppose the invasion. Then in February, some of you remember, I warned the world that the invasion was imminent. I rallied a coalition of 50 nations from Europe to Asia to help Ukraine defend itself. Many foreign policy experts thought, as Putin amassed Russian forces just 100 miles north of Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine, but Putin thought it was the mother home of Russia. The capital would fall in less than a week. But the Ukrainian people, backed by a coalition to help build, stopped them. Today, Kyiv still stands, and NATO stands stronger than it has ever been. During the week of this summit, several heads of states made it a point in their statements to thank the United States and to thank me personally for all that NATO has achieved. NATO is not only stronger, NATO is bigger because we led the charge to bring in Finland and Sweden into the alliance, and it makes a gigantic difference. Excuse me. Meanwhile, my predecessor has made it clear he has no commitment to NATO. He's made it clear that he would feel no obligation to honor Article 5. He's already told Putin, and I quote, "Do whatever the hell you want." In fact, the day after Putin invaded Ukraine, here's what he said. It was genius. It was wonderful. Some of you forgot that, but that's exactly what he said. But I made it clear, a strong NATO is essential to American security. And I believe the obligation of Article 5 is sacred. And I remind all Americans, Article 5 is invoked only once in NATO's long history, and that was to defend America after 9/11. I made it clear that I will not bow down to Putin. I will not walk away from Ukraine. I will keep NATO strong. That's exactly what we did, and exactly what we'll continue to do. Now, the future of American policy is up to the American people. This is much more than a political question. It's more than that. It's a national security issue. Don't reduce this to the usual testament that people talk about, issues of being a political campaign. It's far too important. It's about the world we live in for decades to come. Every American must ask herself or himself, is the world safer with NATO? Are you safer? Is your family safer? I believe the American people know. The answer to all those questions is yes. And I believe the American people understand that America is stronger because of our alliances. I believe the American consensus from Truman to Reagan to me still holds today. America cannot retreat from the world. We must lead the world. We're an indispensable nation, as Madeleine Albright wrote. Now let me turn to 3 other key issues. Just this morning, we had a great economic report showing inflation is down. Overall prices fell last month. Core inflation is the lowest it's been in 3 years. Prices are falling for cars, appliances, and airfares. Grocery prices have fallen since the start of the year. We're going to keep working to take down corporate greed to bring those prices down further. Meanwhile, Trump's calling for a 10% tariff on everything Americans buy, including food from overseas, vegetables, and other necessities. And economists tell us that would cost the average American working family another $2,500 a year. It's a tax of $2,500 a year. Second, our efforts to secure the border, southern border, is working. After Trump killed the bipartisan effort to secure the border, Republicans and Democrats had worked on, because he thought it would benefit me and make him a loser, Republicans walked away. So I took executive action last month. As a consequence, working with Mexico, border encounters have gone down over 50%. The current level is lower today than when Trump left office. Third, for months, the United States has been working to secure a ceasefire in Gaza, to bring the hostages home, to create a path for peace and stability in the Middle East. 6 weeks ago, I laid out a detailed plan in writing. It was endorsed by the UN Security Council, the G7. That framework is now agreed on by both Israel and Hamas. So I sent my team to the region to hammer out the details. These are difficult, complex issues. There's still gaps to close. We're making progress. The trend is positive. And I'm determined to get this deal done and bring an end to this war, which should end now. Let me conclude where I began. We're the United States of America. We are the indispensable nation. Our leadership matters. Our partnerships matter. This moment matters. We must rise to meet it. With that, I'll take your questions. I've been given a list of people to call on here. Reuters, Jeff Mason.
Mr. President, your political future has hung over the NATO summit a little bit this week. Speaker Pelosi made a point of suggesting that your decision on whether to stay in the race was still open. George Clooney and a handful of lawmakers have called on you to step aside. Reuters is reporting tonight that UAW leadership is concerned about your ability to win.
UAW just endorsed me, but go ahead.
Thank you. My question for you is, how are you incorporating these developments into your decision to stay? And separately, what concerns do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she's not qualified to be president. So let's start there.
You heard that right. Vice President Trump. He wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president if she didn't think she was qualified.
Number one. The fact is that the consideration is that I think I'm the most qualified person to run for president. I beat him once, and I will beat him again. Secondly, the idea, I served in the Senate a long time. The idea that senators and congressmen running for office worry about the ticket is not unusual. And I might add, there are at least 5 presidents running or incumbent presidents who had lower numbers than I have now, later in the campaign. So there's a long way to go in this campaign. And so I'm just going to keep moving. And because, look, I got more work to do. We got more work to finish. There's so much we made. Think about where we are economically relative to the rest of the world. Name me a world leader who wouldn't want to trade places with our economy. We created over 800,000 manufacturing jobs, 1.5 million. I mean, so think.
There's actually more footage, guys. I'm going to share with y'all in a little bit. This is Random Topic Thursdays. Let's go ahead and get started. Whoever you are, wherever you are, hope you are blessed and doing safe. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings, family. Of course, I'm tuning in. You see me without the glasses off today. But if you're looking for some opportunities, particular advertisement opportunities, then look no further at the link at the bottom to my email address. You can hit me up for advertisement opportunities. We are supporting and promoting your businesses here on this channel. You can also, if you would like to donate and subscribe to our Patreon, a link is at the bottom as well. So you have multiple ways in which you can advertise with the platform by emailing me when we go on through our live stream. You also have access to premium content, those that want to see premium content that you will not find here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, as I am suspended probably by now. You guys can check out the Patreon at link at the bottom. But advertisement opportunities, definitely email me, gavin.grich1@gmail.com for rates and for the Patreon. It is the same as the YouTube channel. It is channel gboot2786. All right? I'll holla. Peace. What's up, family? Welcome, welcome, welcome to another exciting edition of Random Topic Thursday. I apologize for my appearance, ladies and gentlemen. Usually I come dressed down, better prepared when I come on live, but I have been busy running around the house doing some errands, and I didn't get a chance to change. But I figured I would flex this for all my 80s babies, WrestleMania. Oh, yeah. I'm a macho man, savage. Cream of the crop, brother. Hogan, you racist piece of dog poop. I'm gonna nail you and annihilate you. And all you're gonna do is see my rage. It's Macho Man Randy Savage. Oh, yeah. I'm going to drop the elbow on Hulk Hogan. You're a dog. You're a hot dogger and a grand schemer. And you're a racist piece of shit. Since you don't endorse no black people on your beer brand, yet you say brother all the time. That's my Randy Savage. I do Randy Savage, I can do Bret Hart. You screwed me, Hogan. You screwed me. Vince McMahon screwed me. You're all full of bullshit because I'm the best there was, the best there is, and the best there ever will be. So go screw something else. Yeah, that's Bret. Yeah, I'm chilling tonight. No, I would have just grabbed like a dress shirt usually to come on. I like to be professional when I come on here. So apologies, but especially on Thursdays. Sean is not going to be joining us tonight again, so we're just going to be riding solo. Shout out to all Keenan Rourke, one who cares. So, ladies and gentlemen, the pressure is on. The heat is on. More mounting pressure for Biden to step down, and y'all saw part of the press conference. We also have some never before seen footage of President Biden. They showed these things. This is a video, actual video of President Biden, where people have been questioning his mental cognizance. If you see incidents like this, for instance.
The groundbreaking of his presidential library.
Sabotage. My God, man, what does it mean?
We have to tighten security, sir. Find out who's behind it.
No. The word sabotage. What does it mean? Gotcha. Let's get the door, huh? Well, Walters, looks like we've got our saboteur.
That's your wife, sir.
Huh. Yeah, so it is.
If Edwards gets wind of this, he'll use it against you in the campaign. He'll try to prove that you're incompetent.
I can prove that as well as he can.
President Benson, where is your first lady?
My first lady? Hell, I don't know. I've had a lot of women. Lost my flower at the tender age of 15. I can't keep track of all of them. Prime Minister Tojo, Senator Edwards, my fellow Americans, and our millions of illegal aliens. It seems like only yesterday I was strafing so many of your homes. Here I am today begging you not to make such good cars.
President Benson.
No, you're not. Seen him on television. He's an older man, about my height. We're keeping this one on the QT. We're calling it secret mission to go in and get Walters and our boys back.
How was the speech coming, sir?
Huh? Oh, I practiced my A's. Does this look like an A to you?
Yes, sir.
All right. Every time I give an order, things get screwed up. Plan a reception, they bring the wrong hors d'oeuvres. Point an ambassador, the next thing you know, he leaves the country. There's the target area.
It's Minnesota, sir.
Oh, damn it, man. That's the genius of my plan. We don't have to traipse all over the world to fight. We can do it right here at home. Get in some good fishing while we're at it.
Sir, the enemy is over there.
Then we'll fly them over here. They can bring their relatives. We'll teach them to ice skate. Why have to think of everything? And a word of advice. Don't go around calling yourself the president. I wouldn't do that, and I don't think you should either. It just doesn't hold water.
There's Biden there. President Biden. Hot shots, President Biden. Yeah. Man. So my barber, and I know I don't eat one today, but shut up, fuckers. My barber one time a few years ago. We were chilling in a barber shop in Baton Rouge. Shout out to Ceddy Said. And not Ceddy Said, but Cedric was my barber one time. I was living in Baton Rouge, and he said this once. He said movies do one of three things. They show the past, they show the present, and they show the future. And from a certain perspective in general, he's right. Now, of course, there are some movies that, about fictional characters specifically about that. But when you look at, especially when you think of The Simpsons, how they've had stuff that was predicted, and you look at some of the movies, like at one time, nobody would be talking about androids. And I mean, back in the 70s, remember they had, in 80s, they had movies like Aliens and Blade Runner. And you're talking about androids and synthetics then in the 70s. And now in 2024, we have people men, even a little bit earlier than that started talking about marrying a synth, marrying a robot. They have stuff about that. And so we look at that, that movie, Hot Shots. That came out in the early 90s. I was a little boy. So when that came out, everybody was looking at it. That was a parody. But now art imitates life. And you just saw from that press conference, President Biden has lost his mind. Now, my shout out to my sister, Nicole. I haven't watched this, but they're already talking about their calls from Democratic leaders and what we're talking about tonight. People who are not just Democratic leaders, but celebrities as well. And I'll get to that in a second. They're calling for Joe Biden to step down. Some of the Democratic senators and representatives say that he is not mentally fit. He has stated he is not dropping out. And I'm just going to click on this, but I want y'all to listen. I haven't even heard this. That, of course, is Maxine Waters on the right. I don't know who this, I think this is obviously a CNN news anchor. I don't know her name, but y'all can tell me who she is. But Maxine Waters is even older than Joe Biden. Maxine Waters has been the representative, and I'm going to talk about her in a second. She's 85 years old and has been a representative of the 43rd District out in California, which, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, is that where Skid Row is? She's a representative of Inglewood, Torrance, and Gardena. All right. I don't know if it's, but my point I'm making, she has one of the poorest districts in Los Angeles, from what people have told me, from my information that I've learned. Now, I know her husband, Sid Williams, who was actually a football player. He actually was, at one time, he was a student. He did graduate from Southern. But I don't care about, yeah, he might be my college graduate, might be an alum with me. I don't care about none of that. This business, when it comes to voting, guys, this should be strictly business, not personal, business. Who gives a damn what their school is, where they stepped at, they line brothers? That don't have nothing to do with anything. What good is that if you're incompetent? Now I want y'all to listen carefully. I'm just hearing this. So Nicole talked about it. I'm sure it was something interesting. Listen.
Through his presidency, they've also seen former President Trump. They've lived through his presidency. They've heard these arguments about democracy, about the fate of the election. And yet Trump is not only winning, but winning increasingly by a larger margin. So what is the plan among Democrats to change that trajectory? It sounds like you're talking about saying and doing all the same things, but do you believe that something needs to change?
I think we need to keep working.
Through his presidency, they've also seen former President Trump. They've lived through his presidency. They've heard these arguments about democracy, about
on live TV. and you look at the comments. I love her so much. It's Abby being totally unbothered and continuing to talk for me. Nothing worse than your part being the wrong direction. I understand, Auntie. Oh my God, I love Maxine Water. Yeah, she was at Essence Fest this year, the 30th anniversary of Essence. I'm gonna talk about that. I didn't talk Tuesday about it, but she was there, and yeah, I remember I saw the speech she gave. They had Kamala Harris come to Essence Fest, which was part of the reason why Essence Fest earlier you didn't see a lot of people on that Friday and Saturday. It was because when Kamala came to Vice President Harris came to the Superdome, the security was shut down. The security shut down everything, so it was hard for people to come in early. But this is what we got. This is your presidency. These are our representatives. That curl was giving her problems. Yes, that's right, Tony. I think her wig had something in it. She had mites moving under it or something. I don't know what the hell was going on. She's worried about fixing her wig. Oh, we know Clogburn said, yeah, and Biden said he has the black vote. The reason why they've taken the black vote for granted is because they know that with the migrants that are here and the Hispanics outnumbering, as you already know, y'all, the United States in a few years will not be a majority white country anymore. So blacks are being replaced at a very fast rate by other minorities. I shouldn't even say minorities, but other groups like Black, Hispanics, even Asians at one point will outnumber us. And as a result, you remember what he told those representatives on that Zoom conference. He said, you all better get it ready to deal with the Hispanics. He told grown men this because he would have nothing to do for us. And you got black folks that will still vote for this fool, especially them old Negroes. But that's what we have here. And so there are calls. I talked about Essence Fest. Essence Fest, I'm not going to lie, the concerts and stuff were nice. Sunday night, I had a chance to go check it out. I had a free ticket. And Janet Jackson was great. Janet was good. SWV. The only SWV was up there, as well as Victoria Monet, who I didn't even know who she was, honestly. And shame on me, I follow music, but I'm not listening to it all the time on the radio or the internet. I'm not looking for other artists or anything like that. But she performed great. They ran all of them, of course, were late because it's CPT time. But the main problem, especially with Essence, and I'm going to just say this part, what they try to do, Essence, Ebony now, especially, although they're not as relevant as they were 20 years ago, 30 years ago, they have all been shills for the Democratic Party. They have all been shills for the Democratic Party. Tom Joyner was another one when he was on a radio show. Remember, a few weeks ago, I did a video. I showed you how some of these when Steve Harvey threw an alley-oop to Kamala Harris, and they had Ricky Smiley. I showed the video of Ricky Smiley, how he coordinates with Steve Harvey and D.L. Hughley on certain things. Well, that's what we got here. That's why nobody should take these celebrities seriously when they're talking about stuff like this. When they talk politics. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. They are given monies. They are given monies by these super PACs, these groups, to push an agenda. I see because the Black Authority has come back. The Black Authority has come back. Since he got his channel monetized, I've noticed instead of going live on Saturdays and Sundays, he's going live almost every day. So I'm competing with him right now on Thursday night. Yes, I took pictures of her. The pleasure principle. Oh, 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 oh. Yeah. So, and they approved, yeah, with NATO, because they had the NATO thing come on today. Yeah. The Ukraine one big, because today is the 75th anniversary of the summit, and it was held in Washington, D.C. They actually approved F-19. They approved jets to go to the Ukraine. Ukraine is trying to get membership into NATO. They said the path to NATO membership is irreversible. Alliance censures China as Russian war enabler and supplier, and F-16 jet flying for Ukraine defense this summer. So they won big. And remember, the United States also approved billions of dollars to go to the Ukraine to help them in their war efforts. Yes, he called Zelensky President Putin, called him Putin. Yeah. But there's more. Hold on. We're going to continue playing. Fair use, by the way, fair use.
We're moving. We got more to go. Working class people still need help. Corporate greed is still at large. Their prices, the corporate profits have doubled since the pandemic. They're coming down. And so I'm optimistic about where things are going. Danny Kemp, AFP.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to ask you about your, you mixed up Presidents Zelensky and Putin earlier today. And you now have sort of your key allies, including the British Prime Minister, the President of France, and the German Chancellor having to step in and make excuses for you on that. Officials here are saying off the record that your decline has become noticeable. Hasn't this now, frankly, become damaging for America's standing in the world? Thank you.
Did you see any damage to our standing by leading this conference? Have you seen a more successful conference? What do you think? And the Putin piece, I was talking about Putin, and I said, and now, at the very end, I said, I mean, Putin. I said, no, I'm sorry, Zelensky. And then I had 5 other names. Look, guys, the idea anybody suggests that we haven't had an incredibly successful conference. How many times did you hear in that conference? I know it sounds too self-serving, but other leaders, heads of state, in thanking me, saying the reason we're together is because of Biden, because Biden did the following. Look, folks, this is well, anyway. I thought it was the most successful conference I've attended in a long time, and find me a world leader who didn't think it was. Next one. Sorry, Nancy Cordes.
Thank you, Mr. President. You mentioned other instances in history where presidents have faced a challenge. What makes this moment in history so unique is that it is not your enemies who are calling on you to reconsider your decision to stay in the race. It's your friends, supporters, people who think you've done a great job over the past 4 years. Have you spent time thinking about what it would mean for your legacy, which you've worked decades to build, if you stay in the race, despite the concerns that voters say they have, and you lose to someone who you yourself have argued is unfit to return to the Oval Office?
Well, look, I'm not in this for my legacy. I'm in this to complete the job I started. As you recall, understandably, many of you and many economists thought my initial initiatives that I put forward, can't do that, it's going to cause inflation, things are going to skyrocket, the debt's going to go up. What are you hearing now from mainstream economists? 16 economic Nobel laureates said I've done a hell of a job. And under my plans so far and what's going to happen in the future if I'm reelected, that things are going to get much better. Our economy is growing. I was determined when I got elected to stop the trickle-down economic theory. That if the wealthy did very well, everybody else would do well. My dad was a well-read, decent guy. I don't remember much trickling down on his kitchen table. Middle-class people and working-class people need help. And so what happened is I decided to was able to implement as president what I believed when I was a senator. And that is that the way to build this economy is from the middle out and the bottom up. That way we grow the economy. And the wealthy still do very well. They do fine. And guess what? Find me an economist, mainstream economist, and say we haven't done well. What have we not done that isn't working right now? And so we got more to do though. We got to finish the job. And by the way, I come from the corporate state of the world. Delaware has more corporations registered in Delaware than every other state in the nation combined. I'm not anti-corporate, but corporate profits have doubled since the pandemic, doubled. It's time things get back in order a little bit. It's time, for example, if I'm reelected, we're going to make sure that rents are kept at 5% increase. Corporate rents for apartments and the like and homes are limited to 5%. We're going to make a lot of changes that I've been talking about because we're going to continue to grow this economy. And by the way, remember how I got so roundly criticized for being so pro-union, not labor, union. Well, guess what? I've been the most pro-union labor president in history. Not a joke. And guess what? We had the Treasury Department do a study. When unions do better, everybody does better. Everybody does better. And we talk about how, for example, remember when we talked about getting the computer chip industry back in the United States? Used to be 40% of the industry. We invented the chip. 40% of the industry is in the United States. And former presidents decided that the best way to do it is find the cheapest labor in the world, send the product over there and import what the product was. And so what did I do? I was told not to go over to Europe, to Asia, including Europe, but Asia. And I remember going to South Korea, convincing them to invest $20 billion in the United States to build computer chip factories. And I asked why when they finally decided to do it. And the answer was because you have the safest economy in the world, and you have the best workers in the world. So the whole idea here is we've invested there's over $50 billion in investment in computer chip manufacturing just coming into being. None of you thought that would happen. None of you thought that would happen. But it's happening. It's happening. And it's going to grow economies. All through, and by the way, red states and blue states. Matter of fact, there's as much in red states as blue states. I made no distinction. So my generic point is that the idea that we can't continue to build and grow the economy, make it fair. Like I said, from my standpoint, when the middle class does well, that's when the whole economy grows. The poor have a shot, the wealthy do well. But the wealthy got to start paying their taxes.
As a follow-up, sir, you mentioned that your Vice President Kamala Harris would be ready to serve on day one. Can you elaborate on that? What is it about her attributes and her accomplishments over the last 4 years that make her ready to serve on day one if necessary?
First of all, the way she's handled the issue of freedom of women's bodies to have control over their bodies. Secondly, her ability to handle almost any issue on the board. This was a hell of a prosecutor. She was a first-rate person, and in the Senate, she was really good. I wouldn't have picked her unless I thought she was qualified to be president. From the very beginning, I made no bones about that. She is qualified to be president. That's why I picked her. Felicia Schwartz, Financial Times.
Thank you, Mr. President. Presidency is the most straining.
How many of y'all bet those questions were some of those questions were pre-prepared? Y'all heard about the radio host out in Philadelphia that got fired, huh? With them toss-up questions. Steve Harvey ain't getting fired because I got about 2 more years on the Family Feud before this shit run dry. I'm squeaking the wheel. Because I want to be the one that moderates for the presidential debate. Y'all don't understand. See, I done what I did with both of these damn presidents.
Say you'll be up for that next year, in 2 years, in 4 years, given the limits you've acknowledged that you have today.
The limits I've acknowledged I have?
There's been reporting that you've acknowledged that you need to go to bed earlier and you're evening around 8.
That's not true. Look, what I said was, instead of my every day starting at 7 and going to bed at midnight, it'd be smarter for me to pace myself a little more. And I said, for example, the 8, 7, 6 stuff, instead of starting a fundraiser at 9 o'clock, start at 8 o'clock. People get to go home by 10 o'clock. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about. And if you look at my schedule since I made that stupid mistake in the campaign, in the debate, my schedule has been full bore. I've done, where's Trump been? Riding around his golf cart, filling out his scorecard before he hits the ball. Look, he's done virtually nothing. And I don't know how many, don't hold me to it, roughly 20 major events, some with thousands of people showing up. And so I just think it's better. I always have an inclination, whether I was playing sports or doing politics, just to keep going, not stop. I just got to just pace myself a little more, pace myself. And the next debate, I'm not going to be traveling into 15 time zones a week before. Anyway, that's what it was about. That's what it was about. And by the way, even with that, I love my staff, but they add things all the time. At the very end, I'm catching hell from my wife for that. Anyway, I'm sorry, Zeke Miller, Associated Press.
Thank you, Mr. President. Two questions for you. First, on the NATO summit, President Zelensky, in your meeting with him, he pressed you to lift your limitations on the Ukrainian use of American weapons, saying that in his public remarks afterwards, saying that Ukraine cannot win the war unless those limitations are lifted. Are you reconsidering your position on that? And then secondly, following up on Felicia's question there, leaders of your own party have said that they're not worried about that debate. They're worried about the next bad night and the bad night after that. How can you reassure the American people that you are up to the task and that there won't be more bad nights at debate stage or somewhere else?
First thing about Zelensky asking for the ability to strike deep into Russia. We've allowed Zelensky to use American weapons in the near term, in the near abroad, into Russia. Whether or not he should be attacked. For example, should Zelensky, he's not. If he had the capacity to strike Moscow, strike the Kremlin, would that make sense? It wouldn't. The question is, what's the best use of the weaponry he has, and the weaponry we're getting to him? I've gotten a more long-range capacity as well as defensive capacity. And so our military is working. I'm following the advice of my commander-in-chief, the chief of staff of the military, as well as the Secretary of Defense and our intelligence people. And we're making a day-to-day basis on what they should and shouldn't be, how far they should go in. That's a logical thing to do. Second question related to
bad nights, sir. How can you reassure the American people that you won't have more bad nights, whether they be on a debate stage or it's a matter of foreign policy?
Well, I tell you what, the best way to assure them is the way I assure myself. And that is, am I getting the job done? Am I getting the job done? Can you name me somebody who's got more?
I think he's getting the job done.
I created 2,000 jobs just last week. So if I slow down, I can't get the job done. That's a sign that I shouldn't be doing it. But there's no indication of that yet. None.
85% of Americans would disagree, Mr. President. There's no sign. Do y'all know? So this is what he's saying. He's not stepping down, all right? President Biden is not stepping down, but despite call from his party, a recent poll from Axios shows that 67% of Americans say Biden should bow out of the race. You have had several individuals from the Democratic Party who have stated that they believe Biden should step down. And one of the biggest contributors is from Hollywood, and his name is none other than George Clooney. And Clooney wrote an op-ed in the New York Times, basically stating that he loved Joe Biden, but we need a new nominee. Now, this is a man who has hosted fundraisers in his homes, keyword is homes, for countless Democratic candidates. He supported Obama. He supported Hillary Clinton. He's supported Biden. He is a big Democratic supporter. He has stated, this is what he writes. He starts off by saying, I'm a lifelong Democrat. I make no apologies for that. I'm proud of what my party represents and what it stands for. Of course, we know what it stands for. Submortion and Skittles. I've led some of the biggest fundraisers in my party's history. Barack Obama in 2012, Hillary Clinton in 2016, Joe Biden in 2020. Last month, I co-hosted the single largest fundraiser supporting any Democratic candidate ever for President Biden's reelection. I say all this only to express how much I believe in the process and how profound I think this moment is. I love Joe Biden as a senator, as a vice president, and as a president. I consider him as a friend, and I believe in him. I believe in his character. I believe in his morals. In the last 4 years, he won many of the battles he faced, but one battle he cannot win is the fight against time. None of us can. It's devastating to say, but the Joe Biden I was with 3 years ago at the fundraiser was not the Joe Big Effing Deal Biden of 2010. He wasn't even the Joe Biden of 2020. He was the same man we all witnessed at the debate. Was he tired? Yes. A cold? Maybe. But our party leaders need to stop telling us that 51 million people didn't see what we just saw. We are also terrified of the prospect of a second Trump term that we've opted to ignore every warning sign. The George Stephanopoulos interview only reinforced what we saw the week before. As Democrats, we collectively hold our breath or turn down the volume whenever we see the president, whom we respect, walk off Air Force One or walk back to a mic to answer an unscripted question. Is it fair to point these things out? It has to be. This is about age, nothing more, but also nothing that can be reversed. We are not going to win in November with this president. On top of that, we won't win the House. We're going to lose the Senate. This is only my opinion. This is the opinion of every senator and Congress member and governor who I've spoken with in private. Every single one, irrespective of what he or she is saying publicly. We love to talk about how the Republican Party has ceded all power and all the traits that it made so formidable with Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush to a single person who seeks to hold on to the presidency. And yet most of our members of Congress are opting to wait and see if the dam breaks. But the dam has broken. We can put our heads in the sand and pray for a miracle in November, or we can speak the truth. Oh, they're running. The pressure is on, huh? Now I'm going to continue. But let's not forget, guys, I'm going to put some stuff up. I'm going to continue this, but George Clooney is known basically for ER. Well, he's known for being on television. We remember him from ER, of course. He's done movies. Who all can forget the great Batman and Robin? Really. Gotta love those bat nips. But I remember him from Dusk Till Dawn. Yeah, Perfect Storm, Three Kings. Those were good. He's a great actor. I'm not knocking him. But he's dead as an actor. Now, I'm going to continue reading. He says, it is disingenuous at best to argue that Democrats have already spoken with their vote and therefore the nomination is settled and done, but we just received new and upsetting information. We all think Republicans should abandon their nominee now that he's been convicted of 34 felonies. That's new and upsetting information as well. He says top Democrats such as Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, and Nancy Pelosi, and all other senators, representatives, and candidates who face losing in November need to ask the president to voluntarily step aside. All of the scary stories that we're being told about what happened next are simply not true. In all likelihood, the money in the Biden-Harris coffers could go to help elect the presidential ticket and other Democrats. The nominee would be left off ballot in Ohio. We Democrats have a very exciting bench. We don't anoint leaders or fall sway to a cult of personality. We vote for a president. We can easily foresee a group of several strong Democrats stepping forward to stand and tell us why they best qualified to lead this country and take on some of the deeply concerning trends we're seeing from the revenge tour that Donald Trump calls a presidential campaign. Let's hear from Westmore and Kamala Harris. She's not going to say nothing. Why would you think the vice president, the one he picked, who she went against, remember, she was adverse to Joe Biden before in the past. Remember that? She went against him. Why do you think she's going to speak against him and she's the vice president? She's one step away. She's one harder. I don't want to say anything bad, but she's one illness, a long illness of the president. If something happens to the president, she's one stone step away from taking over. He cites Gretchen Whitmer and Gavin Newsom and Andy Beshear and J.B. Pritzker and others. He agrees that the candidates cannot attack one another, but in short time, we have focused on what will all make this country soar. That we can go into the Democratic convention next month and figure it out. He says, would it be messy? Yes. Democracy is messy. But would it enliven our party and wake up voters who long before the June debate had already checked out? It sure would. The short ramp to election day would be a benefit for us, not a danger. It would give us the chance to showcase the future without so much opposition, research, and negative campaigning that comes with these ridiculously long and expensive election seasons. This can be an exciting time for democracy, as we've just seen with the 200 or so French candidates who stepped aside and put their personal ambitions on hold to save democracy from the far right. Joe Biden is a hero. He saved democracy in 2020. We need him to do it again in 2024. They always cite this crap, this fear stuff. And this is the problem with the Democrats and why I think they'll lose next year is that they keep trying to use fear-mongering, boogeyman tactics to get out a vote. And let's talk about George Clooney. George Clooney, first of all, let's look at this. Now, George Clooney is talking about, he said Joe Biden saved democracy in 2020. Now, George Clooney I want y'all to see this. George Clooney believes and knows the Democrats can keep abortion. That's all they push. I want y'all to look at this. This is George Clooney's network. He's worth $500 million. From acting, producing, directing, screenwriting. He's a multi-millionaire. He has homes in different cities. He has a house in Italy. He has a house in Mexico, France, Los Angeles. You think he's going to be affected? I hate when these ads popped up. Y'all honestly think he's going to be affected like you or me when any of these presidents come up? That's his home. Oh, God damn it. Stop this. Yeah, this is his house. That's his home in Italy. That's one of his former homes in Mexico. This is George Clooney. That's his wife. Beautiful woman. You got an $8.3 million French chateau. Many of us in this country haven't even seen a chateau. Many people don't even know what that looks like. Can't even visit the country. And you got people like George Clooney, and he has a right to his opinion. I'm not saying he doesn't, but this man is not going to be feeling the blues if Donald Trump wins or if Joe Biden gets reelected. And on top of that, Joe Biden is 82. He knew Joe Biden when he campaigned for him in 2020 was old. He knew then. I did nothing. The oldest president. He knew he would be the oldest president in United States history at 78 years, when he ran at 78 years old. Give me a break. Y'all accept this man? Y'all gonna listen to a celebrity talk? George Clooney is filthy rich. That's like what happened with Donald, when Donald Sterling was forced to sell the Los Angeles Clippers. And don't get me wrong, yeah, what he was doing, he was a racist piece of shit. He was a racist. He made those remarks, but guess what? They had to still sell it. How do you punish a billionaire? By giving a billionaire more money? I saw the series clip that was on FX with Ed O'Neill played Donald Sterling, and it was boring. I didn't see some stuff about it was good, although I didn't like the characters. The actors they had, I think, were miscast. The guy who played, they had the guy from P-Valley playing Chris Paul. I thought Lawrence Fishburne looked like Doc. Okay, Lawrence Fishburne looked like Doc Rivers, but he didn't have Doc Rivers' voice. It's not Blake's fault. He's cursing out the guys talking about how bad they're playing. I know damn well he didn't talk to those guys. He probably said stuff, but I know damn well he wouldn't have told DeAndre to shut the F up or anything like that from what I saw on the feature. I've been cursing him up in the way they even had the Warriors. The Warriors respond. That was messed up. They miscast that. Yes, Shelley was just as bad as Donald. Yeah, V didn't. Yeah, this is it here. Oh, wow. The cast, they had Draymond. The guy who looked like Draymond was light skinned. Come on, man. He was doing Draymond stuff, but didn't look like Draymond. Look at this. I'm just kidding.
Over there,
like Eddie Winslow.
Self-respect feel pretty good after whooping your ass. Yeah? Yeah. Even though y'all heard the tape, y'all still went tap dancing for your racist ass owner? What? Hey, nigga, who's tap dancing? You, nigga. No, hold up, man. Shut your dumb ass up. We was gonna boycott with you, remember? Oh, yeah. That's what they gonna write in the history books. What you plan to do in your mind? You don't waste your time on this sore loser, man. You just depressed. The sore loser about to catch a sore jaw. Keep doing all that. Yeah, do it.
You're doing Draymond stuff, but you're not. Don't look like Draymond. Yeah, Eddie Winslow is playing Draymond. Yeah, George Clooney. So yeah, I got it right there. Yeah. It was boring. It didn't make any sense, some of the stuff. Yeah, it's not Blake's fault. It's not on Blake. It's not Blake's fault. It's not on Blake. It's not our fault. The guy, it wasn't really Eddie Winslow. The guy looked like Eddie Winslow. But yeah, George Clooney, I'm sorry, George Clinton.
I mean, it's not Blake's fault. It's not Blake's fault. It's not on Blake.
It's on all of us.
Doc,
Yeah, we all do.
Doc, can you sing happy birthday to my kid?
I'd like to sing happy birthday to your kid. That's all I can say.
Are you inhaling?
I'm inhaling and exhaling. Doc Rivers been hoarse since birth. He's like,
It's not on Blake. It's not Blake's fault. Yeah, Eddie was talking reckless. But anyway, let's put some music on while we're talking about this. Let's put some music on. There we go. So you got George Clooney doing that. What's going on, DeAndre? I haven't seen you in a while. Talking this stuff. And you got people following him, listening to him. Yeah, people up chiming in on it. And you got celebrities over there. Precious Biden. I see this. We see what's happening with NATO. Mounting pressure. Of course, there are some Democratic lawmakers who say he should step down. We know Clyburn is going to say he should step down. Does that mean Clyburn got to step down? He's about the same age as Joe, a little older, if I'm not mistaken. A full list of Democratic lawmakers such as Jim Himes. Here's the list here. Forbes has the list. Forbes has the list. We got Jim Himes, Scott Peters, Eric Sorensen, respectively from Connecticut, California, and Illinois. Greg Stanton and Ed Case from Arizona and Hawaii. Brian Schneider from Illinois, Senator Peter Welch, Representatives Adam Smith, Mark Takano, and Joe Morrell. In Ukraine, Mike Quigley and Seth Moulton and Raul Javala, Lloyd Doggett and Julian Christo, Tim Ryan, who's a former rep, who supports Harris. Mark Pincus, who's a donor. Mark Pincus is worth $1.4 billion. Christy Walton, Michael Novogratz, and Reed Hastings. Now, who's Mark Pincus? He's the chairman of Zynga. It's a social game maker known for work. So these are the people. He founded an investment firm called Reinvent Capital, which they put money into SpaceX, health insurance firm Oscar, and rideshare Lyft. So he's an entrepreneur. He also made his money in investments with Facebook. Very rich, very wealthy. Elon Musk is of course, is the #1 billionaire. Jeff Bezos is second. Bernard Arnault is third. His family owns Louis Vuitton. They make Hennessy. They oversee 75 fashion and cosmetic brands. Damn. Just looking at all of this stuff, y'all. That's who runs the world. Or one of them. So, What say you all, ladies and gentlemen? Are you sold on a Biden presidency? I don't believe most of the people here are. But what do you think should happen? And if Biden stepped down, would that change your thoughts? If Kamala Harris would be the first to actually have a chance at winning, well, she's not the first to run, but if she did run and somehow was able to win the White House, how would you feel about it? We're screwed either way. The yes, we're screwed either way. It ain't looking good, no matter what. It certainly is not good, I think, for the Democrat. And you know, look, they had a chance. They had a chance to get better candidates. Look, they didn't learn their lesson in 2016. They had the chance. That was the time then, after Trump won, to rejuvenate, regroup. And they went on what I guess they thought was a sure thing rather than building their base up and getting someone who was fresh, who was younger, who had ideas to move the country forward. Whoever they get, I don't believe I don't think any white male, I'm not going to say they're not going to vote for Kamala, but I definitely think that they're not going to vote against Trump. White women sure as hell are not going to vote against Trump. Look what happened in 2016. And again in 2020. They stood behind their man. So David, that music. So we're gonna wrap this thing up in a second, y'all. But what say y'all? What do you think? You got a question? The Democrats are too busy promoting the same old faces. It's so bad for the Democrats that their own party members are crossing over to the RNC, just leaving the Democratic Party altogether. Yeah, that's what Tulsi Gabbard did. Trump 2024 says spirit of justice. Keaton O'Rourke says reality finally hit. Died in the womb. Democrats that the party doesn't give a damn about that. It's up to the court. For Rex has been out of this. Yeah. All right. We're gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up, y'all. For those wondering, yeah, I had to fly solo tonight. Sean was not on. Shout out to my family. I didn't say this. Bebop Jor, B1 family. Shout out to you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Look, you all can subscribe to the Rumble page. I'm going to leave the link in the chat where you can go and watch this. Please, 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 please join and subscribe. You can actually contribute to the channel there by dropping something in the Cash App. And there, it's monetized. So if you want to drop something, it's fine. If you want to drop something in the Cash App, you can do it as well. The ticker is at the bottom for the Cash App, Zelle, PayPal. Also, buy books on Amazon Kindle, like The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby. You can order that now. And I'm just ask you all to please, please, please make sure you hit the like, share, and subscribe, hit the notification bell. I love that beat. I gotta come up with some new beats, y'all. I'm still working on some music. I got some stuff in mind. So stay tuned for that as well. But we're gonna wrap this thing up. This wasn't gonna be a long show tonight. This has been a great Thursday broadcast of random topics. Please make sure you hit the like, share, and subscribe button. I will see you all in the next one. Be blessed, be safe. Shout out to my family on X, on G786, on the backup channel, Gavin Richard. And if you're watching on Rumble, I thank you all right? All right, we're going to get up out of here. Thank you, Danielle. Yeah. Shout out to Danielle Meyer, Kimmel Rock, Computer Robots, everyone who's been on here, who's contributed, supporting me, Keenan Rourke, all of y'all. Will likely be back on Sunday. Danielle, are you feeling better? I hope you are. All right, love. Y'all be safe. Be one, be blessed. I'll holla. Peace.